I do what I want.
This seems to be the theme of my generation. Through high school, my peers and I were always looking for ways to do what we pleased, while avoiding the link to negative consequence. In many cases, while in my younger years, the choice was inseparably linked to some backlash, whether we liked it or not. As I grew up into young adulthood, I saw creative and often passionate ways people were working to avoid immediate negative consequences while expecting an outpouring of positive benefits. I wondered how many parents blindly backed these youth when they pronounced that their bad grade was a result of their teachers hating them, relinquishing them of all responsibility. This idea reflects directly on the notion of freedom that seems to be preached by the young and bold coffee shop philosophers. Ideas like, is a poor man free if he cannot freely afford buying the things a rich man can? The question is always, if someone doesn't have A and someone else does, is the first person less free than the second? This doesn't really equate to the basic definition of freedom. In a truly free society, one must reap what they sow and expect help from others as a bonus, not an expectation. If you are free to succeed, then you're also free to fail. You live by the consequences of every decision, and that makes every person begin to truly search for the best outcome before they act. People watch TV and say, well, they're watching the news, how could someone be so dumb? Well, it might have something to do with that person not understanding the magnitude of small choices throughout childhood, because they were protected from all consequence. So when a more impacting decision arises, that person on the news is not equipped with the deducting skills necessary to make a wiser decision. They simply were not able to recognize the consequences that would come, and now must learn in a big way that freedom to do is not just the right to choose, but also the right to experience the consequences. The loss of consequence has so infected our society that I feel we've lost what it is to be free. The biggest myth created by all of this is that when you receive freely from another, you have gained freedom, when in reality, once you are dependent on what you are receiving and the giver is not relying on you, you have become a slave to the giver and subject to his or her intentions or limitations. Your beneficiary has become your addiction. A job is a mutual need. You need the income, but your employer needs your skills and abilities. You are valued by your employer, and you value your employer. This equal relationship gives you freedom because it gives you more control over your circumstances. If you are not being treated to your value, then you can use your value to find other employment. This is the complete opposite of welfare. Welfare limits your value because it requires you to become less valuable in order to receive more. True freedom requires great responsibility and holds both negative and positive consequences. The more we remove natural, negative consequences, the more we become slaves to those who can keep those consequences away.